They say to only bring what you can carry. So with the all-new 2025 Ford Expedition Tremor, bring a lot. Like 3 dirt bikes, a few tents, an entire crew ready to make memories. A panoramic 24-inch display, and the confidence to push your limits. The all-new 2025 Ford Expedition Tremor.
Always consult the owner's manual before off-road driving. Know your terrain and trail difficulty and use appropriate safety gear. Max payload varies based on accessories and vehicle configuration. See label on door jamb for carrying capacity of a specific vehicle. Always properly secure cargo.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
The Judge Janine Pirro, Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Now here's Paul Mauro. He is a Fox News contributor, focuses on law enforcement, legal, intelligence issues. He is all over the place on our wonderful top-rated network. Also the founder of opsdesk.org. You can find his latest podcasts and articles there. Paul, thanks for joining us from the great state of Maine. How is it up there?
Nice and cool, beautiful, like a step back in time. I love this place.
Right, sounds like it. I got to get there sometime. I was going through states I've been to with my kids. They want to know how many states I've been to, and Maine notably stood out as like the only Northeast state that I haven't been to. So definitely going to head up there for vacation next year. Do want to talk about another probably cool place, and that is Russia, of course. And you have some new information as far as Russiagate. Obviously, we see Tulsi Gabbard, Director of National Intelligence, dropping all of these bombs of evidence, media's ignoring it, of course, around Comey and McCabe and James Clapper and John Brennan, the former head of the CIA, and obviously Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, all these people that basically manipulated intelligence to make Donald Trump look like he was a Russia agent before the election, then obviously afterwards as well, that hounded his first presidency, the first term, for 3 years. So tell us who Kevin Kleinsmith is, because that is someone that you've brought up recently as far as a major player here.
Yeah, so Kleinsmith is, to me, a very important player in this case because he's the only person in the entire panoply of accused who is actually convicted of a crime relative to what went on. So in as much as you can summarize a sprawling conspiracy like this, what occurred was that Kleinsmith was the line FBI lawyer who worked on the FISA warrant, that is the national security wiretap, that was put in place by this crew of Strzok and Page and the whole gang on Carter Page, who was working for the Trump campaign at the time in 2016. And that was their entree into the Trump campaign. And from there, we ended up getting the entire sprawling Crossfire Hurricane conspiracy / investigation. And so to me, that was really the linchpin. And what Kleinsmith did in order to strengthen the application, in addition to using the bogus Steele dossier as a foundation for that wiretap, he literally went in and changed the wording of a CIA document to make it look like Carter Page was working with the Russians as a spy against America, when in fact, what had happened was the Russians had poked Carter Page to see if he could be an agent for them, and Carter Page did the right thing. He went right to the American government and told the CIA, I'm getting poked by the Russians here relative to being a flip, and you should know about that. Well, that's what the CIA provided to the FBI. The lawyer, Kleinsmith, took out the wording that said he's not a source. That's what it said.
Wow. That
he's not a source for the FBI, for the Russians. He removed that and ended up getting prosecuted for it. He got a plea deal, didn't go to jail, lost his law license, got it back. He really didn't take much of a hit. But the point is, not only is he convicted of something, that application that he shepherded up the chain had to be approved up the chain all the way to the Comey level, because you were essentially wiretapping the Republican nominee for president at the time. Yeah. So, of course, that had to get approved at the top levels. Kleinsmith is the person who can tell you who approved it.
That is remarkable. And we're talking to Paul Mauro, Fox News contributor. So where do you see this going? Because what I've said on the air, and I'll repeat it here, is that the media either poo-poos any of this or they don't cover it at all. And it seems like if there isn't the coverage that this deserves, that this will probably be the type of situation like it was with Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, as far as all of those shell accounts and shell companies and money being funneled to the Bidens from, shady deals in Ukraine and China, and then nothing happens, right? Do you see this ultimately being something where we see, obviously there should be accountability, but ultimately nothing happens?
You put your finger right on it, Joe, and that's why you are where you are, because that is what everybody's wondering, and that is the real linchpin here. That's really the question. And I actually do think we got a good chance this time of seeing some real activity, and here's why. I'm going to take the Trump administration at its word that there is a grand jury impaneled. Now, where it is has gotten very murky. There was strong reporting that it was in Florida. And then there was some pushback over the next couple of days about whether or not it is, in fact, in Florida. This is why this matters. The grand jury is chosen from the jury pool in that area. If the grand jury is in Florida, and according to the reporting that I saw, it was likely would have been in the Mar-a-Lago area, because I would imagine that what they tried to do is hook it to something relative to Trump's residence down there. Either the search warrant that was executed on his home, God knows what they did there. On Bongino, you can see that he's appalled by everything he's discovering. So if I were to find out that they bugged Mar-a-Lago or flipped one of the gardeners or something at the time and treated Donald Trump as a genuine Russian spy, none of it would surprise me. So this is the battle right now for the grand jury. If the grand jury is in effect and does come back with indictments, there's no way to cover it up because there's going to be a trial if nobody flips. And the targets, as you know, are potentially Brennan, Comey, maybe even Hillary, and maybe all the way up to Obama going into the grand jury. I don't see Obama being prosecuted. But Obama's in a very tough spot because Obama can't take the fifth because of the immunity that Donald Trump won at SCOTUS.
That's a great point.
Because of the SCOTUS decision, he can't he can't say, well, I have to take the fifth because he's got blanket immunity. And what it means is you got to remember the grand jury minutes are secret. He won't know what other people have said in the grand jury. So he's got to tell the truth. So Obama in the grand jury is a landmine for this entire thing. It could really detonate, but it really matters in my mind where that grand jury is impaneled. The battle for what you're talking about, some accountability, is happening now, not down the range when we have the trials. It's now for the venue, because if the venue ends up being Washington, D.C., they are going to get such a soft ride. I wouldn't be surprised if there are no indictments because it's 99% blue. And then as a result, the left is going to claim that the whole thing was a witch hunt, which very clearly it's not.
It's just amazing that depending on where you have a trial is whether we get justice or not. But yeah, Florida versus D.C., that seems to be the whole ball game here. And we're talking to Paul Mauro. Paul, I'm curious your thoughts on big story this week, obviously, redistricting that we're seeing in Texas. And then we see Democrats flee for Illinois, which is the most ridiculously redistricted state you'll ever see if you look at a map and the way it's drawn up. And obviously, we've seen this movie before where Texas Democrats fled to New York in 2021 and obviously ultimately got some media sympathy, but lost that battle. So now we're seeing Gavin Newsom, for example, saying, okay, well, I'm going to redistrict California too, when there's really not much to redistrict there at this point. And then New York says the same thing. And then a bunch of red states say the same thing. I mean, that appears to be where we're going at this point. We're just, depending on whether you're red or blue, will depend on what your congressional districts look like in this battle when there's a 3-seat margin, I think, in Congress now at this point. Then obviously who controls the House controls impeachment hearings of Donald Trump or lack thereof. So what are your thoughts on all this? Because we've gone into silly territory at this point.
Yeah, we really have. And look, there's a SCOTUS case that's pending that they've accepted certiorari for, wherein the challenge is to redistricting on racial grounds, which I think is going to be struck down, and that's going to be the rock thrown into the pool that's going to ripple all over the place, because as we're having this gerrymandering battle at the state level, I have a feeling that at some point in 2026 or late this year, SCOTUS is going to upend the entire ball of wax here, to mix metaphors, and it's going to, I think, change the entire calculus. I don't know what that's going to look like when SCOTUS comes down with that decision, and there has to be a rush to redistrict along new lines in the same year that we have a midterm election. But taking that off the table, look, this is one of those things where the left just beats the right. The left has just been on this. They lawyer the heck out of it. And if you read, I've been reading Steve Hilton's new book, Califailure, about California, and the whole first part of the book he dedicates to how California has completely rigged the game against conservatives. That California is actually redder than people realize. It may still be a blue state, sure, but the right has like no representation in California, despite there being something like 40% of the population being conservative. So this is a rigged game that the left has very quietly played. In my mind, there's two places that they really beat the right. And to me, the center, they beat the moderates. They really just beat us all. And it is in the gerrymandering, which has been going on for a long time, that's just quietly under the table. And then the movement of money in the NGOs and the super PACs, because the ecosystem of dark money on the left is at such a point that money originating in Shanghai these days comes into the New York mayoral race, and that's another interview, but that's demonstrable. And the way it moves around is incomprehensible. The web of money movement, it just can't be tracked. They're just very, very good at this stuff. They keep it quiet. They've been doing it a long time. And frankly, it took Donald Trump to call BS and get people to man up and start looking at some of this stuff for us to finally wake up to the fact that the game has been rigged. As you say, the blue states can't be gerrymandered any further. Certainly California can't, so it's an empty threat. And I applaud the idea that we should have a snap census. I don't know if it's going to be constitutional. It's going to be challenged. But the idea that migrants who can't vote, who are by law not allowed to vote, who are illegal, are being counted in how we apportion our representatives who represent the voters is obviously internally consistent, but again, something that they have very quietly put in place that undermines the entire system.
It is remarkable that we have illegals being counted in our census. There should be a snap census. If the Supreme Court has to rule on that for whatever reason, I'm not a lawyer, I would think that they would agree. Most Americans, sane and sober anyway, would agree as well. And Paul, they're telling me that I got to go here. I've got to wrap, so I'll let you get back to your wonderful vacation up in Maine, and I will see you in a green room at Fox soon.
Always great, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Paul. Really appreciate it. He's great, isn't he, guys? That's Paul Mauro, Fox News. Ops Desk is where you want to go to read all of Paul's articles and see his commentary, obviously. opsdesk.org is the website. This is Joe Concha. This is the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation Show. Back with more in just a moment.
The Judge Jeanine Pirro Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday Morning Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
With Robinhood, not only can you trade individual stocks and ETFs, you can also seamlessly buy and sell crypto at low costs. Trade all in one place. Get started now on Robinhood. Trading crypto involves significant risk. Crypto trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Crypto LLC. Robinhood Crypto is licensed to engage in virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services. Crypto held through Robinhood Crypto is not FDIC insured or SIPC protected. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Securities trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, a registered broker-dealer.